up, sports fans? Your favorite sportsbook, BetUS.com, is back for our 28th year of NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus of up to 200%, BetUS offers our members the opportunity to cash in on all your favorite sports, including NFL, NBA, MLB, and more. We've also got hundreds of new casino games, including the coolest new European slots, and our live dealers are waiting for you at the table. Sign up at BetUS.com today to get into the action. BetUS, where the game begins.
And now, broadcasting live from Las Vegas, the Snake Sports Talk Show with Jake Silva starts now.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. I am fired up and I am ecstatic to share with you some news here on the Snake Sports Talk Show. We are breaking down everything breaking news that's going on. In case joining us wherever and however you may be watching and listening, thanks for making us part of your day. Man, the Shrine Bowl, let me tell you something. Jackson Dart looked very nice, Chase. He looked really nice there. So there's going to be some teams humming, and they're on the phone calls. But, boy, I am hearing a lot of buzzes in New York right now, and I got some breaking news that is very tasty and enticing to everybody, because I think this is a team that really, like, this was the missing link. I'm so excited to break this down here tonight. But, yeah, lots to really cover over. The Shrine Bowl, by the way, we got to definitely break down. This is not official for a lot of the fans here that are trying to figure this out. But, man, did you see the polls on NFL or NFL on Fox on some of the votes? The people have spoken. The people have spoken. A lot of their awards. They've spoken a lot about the awards because we got the NFL honors coming up next week.
Yeah, so, it's going to be next week right before the Super Bowl and everything. And last night's Shrine Bowl, I didn't get to see the beginning of it, but like I saw some highlights and I saw a little bit towards the end. And man, there's a lot of these guys that are looking good. People are like, I can't wait for the Senior Bowl tomorrow at 2:30. To see these quarterbacks, Shador, Jalen Milroe, Jackson Dart, all of these guys I'm going to be excited to see. I know the Giants are really high on Shador. They also love Jackson Dart. They pick right behind us in the second round. So if he's there at pick 34, I can see Jackson Dart going there. But there's one piece of thing or something I want to bring up right away is that right there at the in the NFL Super Bowl press conferences and everything, the Saints are doing a third and final interview with Kellen Moore. And, more than likely, if win or lose, he's probably going to stay in New Orleans right after that game's over with.
Yeah, it seems to me like they've kind of made their mind up. They even said, here's the thing. Not a lot of people want that job, but it seems to me because of how patient that they're going with it, it seems to me Kellen Moore, they've officially inked this. Win or loss.
Yeah. They've canceled all the other interviews that they've had with everybody else. They've gotten a third interview scheduled the week of the Super Bowl press conferences and everything. And, it's sounding more and more like he will stay in New Orleans, and then the owners will have his family flown out to New Orleans for him. So,
yeah. Well, let's get down to what was really fiery and fantastic here. So breaking news in New York. So this is actually, this was a team last year that they got to as far as the Eastern Conference Final. And we know they lost to Florida, but they were on one all throughout the playoffs, and they were arguably the best team in the Eastern Conference. So the New York Rangers have officially acquired forward JT Miller from the Vancouver Canucks. And I like this move. This is more firepower. This is huge, man. And I'll tell you what, to me personally, this was the missing link that the New York Rangers knew that they needed. And again, the Vancouver Canucks, there was a lot that was going into this trade. So to break it down, here is the post. And thanks to our good friends at Puck Report, So JT Miller is headed to New York along with Eric Brandstrom and Jackson Dorrington. So 2 defensive guys. While they give up Philip Hedel, defenseman Victor Mancini, and a conditional first-round pick, I have a feeling, and depending on it, they're going to sit and wait to see what that conditional first round looks like. And if it's not anywhere near, I feel like this could be a top 5 pick, in my opinion, with the Vancouver Canucks. And the only reason of this is you got to think this is not a good year for the Vancouver Canucks. This is not a good year. They fell off the wagon. But to me personally, there were so many things that were happening all around where they thought, they were going to keep JT Miller and shop for Brock Besser. And, right now, Elias Pettersson right now seems to be the hot commodity in the trade deadline. This right here was one that a lot of Vancouver fans are pissed. They are not happy with this because in the end, it feels like there was a lot of broken promises, and this is what it is. But again, if you're the Vancouver Canucks, you had to blow this thing up. You knew that something like this was going to end up happening. And here we are tonight. And this literally just came across my phone. I was very intrigued by this move because this just tells you the Rangers are going all in again. And why not? You've got Mika Zibanejad. You got Adam Fox on the defense, which is why I like a little bit more about Eric Brandstrom because he'll be a specialist on defense in one of the lines. But the fact of the matter is they got a lot of offensive scorers. Chris Kreider's in the middle of this thing. You got a couple other people here. And to me, the New York Rangers, and this never fails for any hockey team, we're already closing off the month of January. Can you believe it? I can't even believe it went by this fast. But we are going into the month of February. And what do smart organizations like this do when we get into February and March and in April? If you're going to make a move right now. And the reason of this is because you want to go on a hot streak. This is what the smart teams do. You want to go into the Stanley Cup playoffs being the team that's hot. And this right here for the New York Rangers, I like this. The fact that you're getting, and JT Miller in the last 3 seasons has scored 30-plus goals, and he's gotten over 100 points. So he has accounted for what Vancouver's offense really was about. And now that they're going to end up potentially losing Elias Pettersson in the trade, the other hot commodity right now is that the New Jersey Devils have been checking in about Brock Besser. So this right now feels like a blow-up to me in Vancouver. But it does kind of suck for them because lots of people are feeling like the Canucks got fleeced in this deal. And you know what? It could have gone either way. But to me, I look at the condition of the first-round pick. That's the part I'm looking at. Because to me, if the Vancouver Canucks, you knew that they needed to get rid of this type of contract, and at the same time, they're not playing great. They went from last year to where they went into the second round, and then they were a second-round exit. That's it. And a team that was fast, a team that really spread the puck around and was also getting some high scores with Besser and JT Miller and several others on that Vancouver front line, it wasn't working. And now you're starting to see the downside of it for Vancouver. But hey, Madison Square Garden is going to be rocking with the New York Rangers because evidently, when you think about it, look at with how the Florida Panthers really went about their business. Once they traded for Matthew Tkachuk, you knew that was the perfect ideal fit for someone like Alexander Barkov. And then they go in and get a couple of other really good offensive specialists. That was the missing link. This right here feels a lot to me like this is the missing link the Rangers have been missing. And now they get it. That's the part I really, really like about the New York Rangers getting somebody like JT Miller. And with this return, because Philip Hedel, he's a very decent forward, but we know that they needed to put in a package. This is not even close to a blockbuster deal. This is more semi, in my opinion, because that conditional first round could be a very top 5 type pick. But that's what the Canucks are waiting for. But this is a solid A for the New York Rangers in this trade. I'm going to be nice to the Vancouver Canucks and give them a D+. And the only reason of this is because I want to see that pick. If they do not believe that that is a conditional pick that could end up top 5, they can move off this thing. But man, I did not think this was going to be a type of trade that was going to happen. Now, there were some buzzes that JT Miller wanted to go to the East Coast. All right, he wanted to basically stay in that area. Knows a lot of people there. He's very comfortable in that region. So I don't blame JT Miller going to the East Coast, but going to the New York Rangers speaks a lot. And you know what? I'll tell you one thing. I ain't talking a whole lot about NBA this season, but hockey, bet your ass, I definitely am. And hopefully I can have a very good analyst of mine who covers a lot of all hockey. And he's very known around in the hockey community. But to really talk about this and talk about the trade deadline wrap-ups, this is what's exciting about here. The Rangers just got better. And I think this is the missing link they've been waiting for. All right, so the people have spoken. And I'm going to focus my attention to the NFL Honors, which is next week. But NFL on Fox, they had a whole entire poll. And this was based upon the fans voting. So 58% of the vote for MVP was to Saquon Barkley. What do you know? Because this is the thing. We have never seen a season like this out of Saquon Barkley in forever. I remember when, even as a diehard Charger fan personally, but I watch football. I love football first. But when I watched LaDainian Tomlinson do what he did in 2006, where he had over 30-plus rushing touchdowns, the guy was an animal. The guy was unbelievable. I've even watched Adrian Peterson do the most amazing things with the Minnesota Vikings. And even he was unstoppable in the league. But you know what's funny to me? People were thinking about comparisons for Saquon Barkley, and this is no surprise to me. But a lot of people were comparing this in the last few running backs who have had breakout seasons. You know that Terrell Davis done this twice. He had some 2 breakout seasons with the Denver Broncos. And this is what it feels like to me with Saquon Barkley. This feels a lot like a breakout season that Terrell Davis had in the past. But Saquon took it up a step even further. That's the part where I think everyone in America, and we know the MVP in the last few years has gone to quarterbacks, because quarterbacks, they put up the passing yards, passing touchdowns. You know, they lower down the amount of turnovers, which, again, we know is understandable. But we've never truthfully seen a season like Saquon Barkley's. And again, call it what you will. Even if he did not break that Eric Dickerson record of rushing yards, you still got to give credit to Saquon Barkley of what he's doing. He has simplified the Philadelphia offense. And I know a lot of people criticize and don't really truthfully believe in Jalen Hurts as much, but Jalen Hurts doesn't even have to deal with too much, because you got a Saquon Barkley, because you got a healthy offensive line, because you got an A.J. Brown and a Devontae Smith and a Dallas Goedert. What do you expect Jalen Hurts to truthfully do? This is where I'm going to talk a little bit more about the subject on the bottom half of the hour about Jalen Hurts, because I do not believe a lot of people kind of put this into context when it comes to breaking down Philadelphia's talent. But this, with Saquon Barkley, all of America's spoken. 58% of the nation all believe Saquon Barkley should be the MVP. And the NFL Honors is next week. And again, whether he does or he doesn't get MVP, I know for a fact he is already stapled into the Offensive Player of the Year. There's no question. But MVP, and everybody's defined this. It's not all about the stats. It's not all about, what team you're on. But it's about what you're doing in those moments that heavily solidified. Because here's the thing. We watched Lamar Jackson and we watched Josh Allen, 2 prolific quarterbacks in the AFC, go toe-to-toe. Josh Allen beat Lamar, and Patrick Mahomes beat Josh Allen. And they both couldn't even make it to the Super Bowl. Whereas you watch Saquon Barkley. And I get it with all the talent that Philadelphia has. But he's in the Super Bowl. And the only people that should be pissed and sour are the people of New York. I gave him something really good to hype him up with because I know this is how they're going to feel so sour and bitter. Because arguably one of your best employees just left to your rival. And this is the season he put together. If only you had an offensive line, if only if you had a quarterback, if only if you had smart people in the front office, this would never happen. But this is the kind of thing that if you don't do your due diligences to arguably one of your greatest employees, this is what you get. And again, we know that Saquon Barkley went to Penn State. Okay, so we know he's got a little bit of a Pennsylvania connection. But at the same time, he wanted to retire a Giant. He wanted to be there long term. But the New York Giants couldn't give him what he wanted. And that's the hard part. And it's not like he's asking for too much. But the people have spoken and believe because of the season he's put together. Saquon Barkley should be deserving of MVP. And this is the thing, I don't argue with America. I don't. As America's honesty mind, I'm with the people. Because to me, there's a part of me that I watch these games. I break down film. This is our job. When I watch Saquon Barkley, it is unbelievable what he can do with a healthy O-line, with a really good quarterback that's very serviceable, the talent, the amount of it that they have on offensive defense, a front office like Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman, who are just rock stars. I mean, even if you got to deal with a coach like Nick Sirianni, everything just works with Philadelphia. But that in particular makes me feel good about it. So, yeah, that's the thing, Chase. When I looked at the votes before the NFL honors, so NFL on Fox came out with those polls, and they agreed 58% wanted Saquon Barkley to win the MVP. And you know
they
what?
do, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to go to Josh Allen.
Again, you can't disregard the fact of the season Saquon Barkley's put together, because this is the kind of thing that makes New York fans so bitter. They can't sleep at night because of this. And this is what happens when your great employee leaves the building.
Joe Shane should be ashamed of himself because, you can't sit there and have your son say, like, oh, we should go get Drake May. We should go get Jaden Daniels. You should get Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik Neighbors. Like, finally, he got Malik Neighbors. But, John Mara was pissed when they let Saquon Barkley walk out that door. Yep. If I was John Mara, I would have fired Joe Shane right on the spot after that happened, because there is no way I let one of the best running backs in the league leave my team when he could have helped out this year. The Giants could have easily won another 3 extra games had Saquon Barkley been there.
Yeah, it's crazy, because that's the thing, is that this is what you get when you give him a healthy O-line. You give him at least, look, I know a lot of people picture Philadelphia because of their fan bases, because they're so passionate and they're very strong, and they will let you know either you belong here or you're struggling that badly, and they're going to just write you off, right? You're going to be on the newspaper. You're going to be on every single radio media platform known to man in Philadelphia, and they will nonstop talk about you. That's how passionate the city is. But look at how healthy that front office is. Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Roseman, those are very smart businessmen. This is why it's like Philadelphia they just know how to build talent around them. Mm-hmm. I can't fight that. That's the part where it's like Saquon Barkley, I think, kind of looked at this and knew this was where I wanted to go.
What were the polls for the other awards?
So the awards, the other ones, Saquon Offensive Player of the Year, absolutely. I think he will get that.
I think if you get MVP, you should not get Offensive Player of the Year.
That's the thing. Is like because what America's basically saying is that they're trying to, go one side or the other. That's why they went with both in this poll, because however the NFL honors is going to go. And that's where I'm like, if he doesn't get MVP, then Offensive Player of the Year. Or if he gets MVP, then maybe somebody else will get Offensive Player of the Year. And I'm totally fine with either one because it puts together the season. But comeback Player of the Year, Sam Darnold, absolutely. With the
it should be Joe Burrow.
And even with Joe Burrow, like he put together a very good season. But the thing is that what Sam Darnold put together is people wrote this kid off for years. I know what I'm getting with Joe Burrow, absolutely. But I think because it's hard to really fit those two in. Because, again, I would want to be with Joe Burrow for sure. But
I mean, well, Joe Burrow had an injury, and then nobody expected him to have a season where he was 200 yards shy of 5,000. He was 4 TDs shy of 50 touchdowns. Yep. And like he had a hurt wrist where everybody was saying that he has a 25% chance to be able to throw the ball the same way and everything. So like Sam Darnold, I agree, had a fantastic season, but I think Joe Burrow's topped it just a little bit coming off the injury and having the season he did.
Yeah, and like I said, this is obviously the prediction vote, which is what So they thought Sam Darnold for comeback player, offensive rookie of the year, Jaden Daniels, hands down, no question.
No question.
I mean that. Defensive rookie of the year, Jared Verse. I'm not fighting that either. Some people would make the argument about Quinyon Mitchell, which I understand that.
You can go either. Yeah.
Yeah, you could go either. And then defensive player of the year. You'd be surprised. Everybody went Patrick Surtain.
Yeah. I agree. I think that it should be Patrick Surtain. Yeah. Aditi Kinkabwala, who is a beat reporter for the NFL. She covers the Steelers, the Browns, a lot of the AFC North, and just is a reporter for the NFL. She is one of the voters for the NFL honors. She votes on a lot of these awards. She said Myles Garrett would hands down be the unanimous defensive player of the year if the Browns had a winning record this year.
That's the thing is like you're fighting amongst, a lot of these really good pass rushers and a lot of these guys that like are just generational talents. That's the one thing about it. But I do got to say, Pat Surtain, this was a very, very good season for him.
Yeah, I agree. It should be Patrick Surtain. It should not be TJ Watt. Should not be Trey Hendrickson.
Coach of the year, Dan Quinn, absolutely.
Yes.
And the fact that he's put together, I think he's built a lot of confidence in this organization. And this is just an organization that wiped everything clean. Ownership, GM, coach, and quarterback. I mean, and to make all of this work in just 1 year to go to the NFC Championship game is more than impressive. And listen, Dan Quinn, he's no stranger. He's been a head coach before. And so, but to put this kind of confidence in a young kid like Jaden Daniels, I think is one you shouldn't even like shy away from.
And who do they have for assistant coach of the year?
They haven't announced the assistant coach, but you're going to love this. So the viral player of the year, are you ready for this? It's Jameis Winston.
Yeah, yep, I saw that.
Like you knew that it was going to be somebody like Jameis Winston. I mean,
and you know what's funny? The Sports Writers of America put Myles Garrett as their defensive player of the year.
Yeah, which, by the way, speaking of Jameis Winston, he will be on NFL on Fox as their digital correspondent.
Yep,
it's during the Super Bowl, so that's good for him. That's a fun one. I will. So like I said, I think we have an idea what they're looking at, whether it does or it doesn't happen. But I think a lot of people are citing on Saquon Barkley because of the year he's put together, which I do not disregard it at all. I don't disagree at all. But I know that it is harder because the fact of you got Lamar, who's had arguably the best passing season in his career. Josh Allen, who's, he's basically, people wrote him off and the Buffalo Bills, but for him to do what he did this year should not go unheard. That's why, it is going to be interesting. I can't wait for the NFL honors. But this year is just proof with what America's speaking out on. So I'm like, okay, I like it.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting one because this is one of the NFL honors that you don't really know, like definitively, who's going to win an award each category.
Absolutely. Well, I am curious as to what the Detroit Lions are going to look like next season. And I'm going to break this down when we come back from break. But man, I know you got I got the text on this, and when I got the full breakdown of their coaching staff, oh my God. I don't know how they're going to recover from it.
There is only like 4 or 5 coaches on the staff that stayed.
How about they lost 7. So which is why we'll talk more about what we should expect from the Detroit Lions and how this is going to be harder to recover from, and it's not going to be easy. I don't think this team will lose. I just think it's going to be a harder pathway to truthfully climb up when you got other NFC teams out there. And even when you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, and as talented as they are, that's not going to be an easy road ahead of them come next year. Well, folks, 2025. Boy, I can't even believe January is already.
Tomorrow's February 1st.
Oh my God. But you know what, though? What a kickoff start to 2025. Next week, Jason and I are going to be ready for Super Bowl week. But to get ready for the big game, you got to go online to BetUS.com. Lots of betting line and prop bets all before the Super Bowl. There's a lot of prop bets. Who's going to have the most passing yards, rushing yards? I know a lot of people are going on the overs on Saquon Barkley. That's getting red hot right now. Whatever you decide to get you on the edge of your game, go on to BetUS.com and sign up today. $50 or more in your deposit, matching up to 125% bonuses of up to $2,000. And trust me, with the most award-winning sports book in America for over 30 years, and best line that you got possible. Parlay leg bets, single leg bets. I may end up dropping a couple of I could drop a couple of prop bets here on BetUS. Because this is the thing, man. The Super Bowl, there's so many predictions up on here, like the coin flip. Who's going to win the coin flip to start the game? What songs should Kendrick Lamar during the halftime show literally play?
He's playing Not Like Us. I know that.
And he's probably going to be playing TV off, and he's going to be playing a lot of good hits.
Swimming pools.
But that's the thing. Which one will he play first to get the crowd going? There's all sorts of bets for that, and casino entertainment. And also, when you sign up, you also will get yourself your own account manager just to get you the best experience. Go online to BetUS.com and sign yourselves up. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or seek therapy in your respective states to get you the help you need so that you don't gamble irresponsibly while using BetUS. We want you to enjoy it. We want you to try it out for yourselves. BetUS.com, BetUS, where the game begins.
Looking for a show with the best takes and opinions? Want a show with the best coverage around the world of sports? Jam-packed with an all-star interview lineup? Then the best place to find it all, sports and entertainment, is right here. Join Jake Silva on the Snake Sports Talk Show, presented by SeatGeek and BetUS. Weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific on Sports Wave Network.
Want to find your seat for the event of your choice but can't get one that fits your desire or your budget? Well, my friends, SeatGeek has you covered. SeatGeek is the official sponsor of the Snake Sports Talk Show. With a list of over hundreds of events to choose from, SeatGeek will assure you that you won't miss your seat with the amazing view of your choice at the most affordable price. Whether it's looking for your best seat in the house of your favorite sports team, finding live concerts that get you closer to your favorite artist, or enjoying your spot at your favorite live shows, comedies, and more, SeatGeek has it all just for you. Go online to SeatGeek.com or download the app on your mobile device through Google Play and the App Store. And as a special offer before checkout, use promo code SNAKESPORTS and save yourself $20 off of your purchase of your first ticket and experience why SeatGeek is the most trusted ticketing app for your next event. Remember, that's SeatGeek.com and download the app on your phone with promo code SNAKESPORTS for $20 off and find your seat with SeatGeek.
Snake Sports Talk Show is sponsored by Muscle Tech, with hundreds of supplements and vitamins to choose from, all packed with 100% all-natural proven ingredients. You can be sure that Muscle Tech will give you the edge and the boost to train and look like your fit and healthy best, whatever your goals are. Try Muscle Tech today and use promo code SNAKESPORTS to save 30% off your purchases.
All right, well, the Detroit Lions, what a hard time it is right now for the Detroit Lions. I know they lost in the playoffs, and they're not going any further. And what's hard about this is you lost a lot of coaches. And I ain't just talking about both coordinators moving on to different places, but I'm also talking about some of the internal ones. So there was a post out, and the amount of coaching staffs they lost was 7 of them. That's including Ben Johnson and with Aaron Glenn. So this was a post that was put up. And so the Detroit Lions lost a lot of people. Ben Johnson to Chicago, Aaron Glenn to the Jets, Terrell Williams, the D-line coach, is now the DC of the New England Patriots. And Stephen Hayden, tight end coach, goes to the Jets as an O-line coach. But I do feel like the Jets could very much take a tight end with their pick. Antoine Randall, by the way, very well-respected receiver in this league. Receiving coach is now a receiving coach and assistant coach for Chicago. What a Ben Johnson pickup from there. JT Barrett, he was an assistant quarterback coach. Now he's a quarterback coach in Chicago. And Tanner Engstrad is now the offensive coordinator for the Jets. So 3 places. All of them are in the middle, in the Midwest, and in the East Coast. All these jobs. The Jets and the Chicago Bears took majority of Detroit's coaching staff. Why would that be? Well, Ben Johnson, is an offensive guy. So, of course, he had to go and grab Antoine Randall. He had to go and grab JT Barrett. It's insane. And then not to mention, they've lost close to the amount of coaches that the Denver Broncos lost. And not to mention, too, one of their front office pieces. So the Detroit Lions, I feel like they got choked up this season. Because remember, last year we saw this team go into the NFC Championship game against San Francisco. And we all know how that ended. They ended by overly aggressive play calling. And in the end, it really bit them in the you-know-what. And so then this season, and I'm not going to hinder this because they had a lot of injuries on defense. I get it. That is tough. But they came out with the first round bye, and they also came out with the best record in the NFC. And they lost to the Commanders. They played too cute. Weren't even thinking about the game. And to me, the Detroit Lions have a harder climb in the next season than these last 2 years. I don't know how Dan Campbell is honestly going to recover from this, but that is a lot. 7 coaches and 2 teams who got 3 of them each, which is insane. Aaron Glenn, went to a DC and went to an OC. So I'm looking at this, and I couldn't even believe it. And I just think this is just pure insanity. And I think for the Detroit Lions, good luck with trying to be the best team in the NFC next year, because Philadelphia's got a lot of talent. Washington, pay attention to them in the offseason and in the draft. And there's a bunch of teams. Minnesota, Green Bay, multiple teams up out there. That is not going to be easy to do. And it's not going to be easy to recover from. 7 coaches all together in a staff just tells you how good some of these guys are. And by the way, Ben Johnson went with 2 offensive guys. Aaron Glenn went with 1 guy he trusted with to be the offensive coordinator for the Jets. And then also took somebody that was a tight ends coach to be an O-line coach, which I do believe the Jets have a higher priority to truthfully go and get a tight end with their pick. And it could be any of them. You get a talented player on this roster like a Tyler Warren, that offensive unit would be very good. But it also does depend. I mean, Garrett Wilson could be on the move. There's so many things that can happen for the New York Jets. But besides all of that, and then not to mention their respected D-line coach, Mike Vrabel, and him go way back. They got a very good history, and now he's the defensive coordinator for the team. So I don't know what to think of with Detroit after tonight. And I don't even know what to think of them come next year. But this is rough. I feel it for Detroit fans, but this is the NFL. This is why a lot of your windows, you don't get a ton of windows of opportunities, even in life. Sometimes you just got to be smart enough to be aggressive, but be smart about being aggressive. Don't be just overly aggressive and reckless to where all of a sudden you just miss out on a bunch of opportunities like this one. So I just am like, I'm appalled. That's insane. So I couldn't believe it with my own eyes. But man, they got gutted. So did Denver a bit. But that is, I don't know what the Detroit Lions are truthfully going to look like at the end of this thing. Here we go with the news.
This is the Hot Press.
All right, so some news here in the Hot Press as it's hot and cooking, fresh out the oven. So the Pro Football Hall of Fame finalist has been announced. And so the names that are being announced is Eric Allen, Jared Allen, Willie Anderson, Jari Evans, Antonio Gates, Torrey Holt, Luke Kuechly, Eli Manning, Steve Smith Sr., Terrell Suggs, Fred Taylor, Adam Vinatieri, Reggie Wayne, Darren Woodson, and Marshall Yanda. So those are the finalists in the Pro Football Hall of Fame for this 2025 class. To be honest with you, there are a couple names that really, really attract my eyes. But I think they really got to be respective on this. Antonio Gates, if you got Tony Gonzalez in there, and you may potentially have Jason Witten at some point, you got to get Antonio Gates in the Hall of Fame. The way he was a part of a class of tight end groups, he was unstoppable. An undrafted free agent out of Kent State, who's also a former basketball player who was very good in March Madness in that tournament. I think you really got to give it to him. Torrey Holt, because here's the thing. Isaac Bruce is in the Hall of Fame. You can't have the greatest show on turf if you got Isaac Bruce and Marshall Faulk. You don't have Torrey Holt. How does that work? I never understood it. I think you really got to complete this thing. And Torrey Holt was a very good receiver. Make no mistake. Steve Smith Sr., in my opinion, I think he's also very pivotal because of what he's done with the Carolina Panthers for so long. And then not to mention, he goes into another aggressive organization in Baltimore. So it makes sense for me. He's been very, very good. Adam Vinatieri, arguably one of the best kickers in football, right next to, Steven Gostkowski, Rodney Cole, and a couple others. Adam Vinatieri was very clutch in both the Patriots and in the Colts, and he's won Super Bowls with both of them. You got to put him in that category. Reggie Wayne, in my opinion, you've got Marvin Harrison, you've got Peyton Manning in the Hall of Fame. I think Reggie Wayne, what's funny about it is that we've seen Marvin Harrison by himself, and we've also seen Reggie Wayne by himself, and they were both impactful. So Reggie Wayne, in my opinion, he deserves the nod. But there are a bunch of guys on this list, and I know the question, is Eli Manning a Hall of Famer? It is so hard because he didn't dominate in this league. Okay, in the league. But we all remember his magical postseason performances with Super Bowl 42 and Super Bowl 46. We don't know that. So that's the thing, is we've come into this point now where a lot of the resumes and the way to break it down, this is not to disrespect a lot of these players. It's just really hard to break these down. But again, I think Antonio Gates, Torrey Holt, Steve Smith Sr., and Reggie Wayne all should be considered up. Even Fred Taylor, in my opinion. I think it's really, really I think it should be considered in that regard. So, so we talked about the JT Miller trade to the New York Rangers from the Vancouver Canucks. And, there he is. So, I was just telling the people is that the 2025 Hall of Fame class finalists have been announced. And it reads as this: Eric Allen, Jared Allen, Willie Anderson, Jari Evans, Antonio Gates, Torrey Holt, Luke Kuechly, Eli Manning, Steve Smith Sr., Terrell Suggs, Fred Taylor, Adam Vinatieri, Reggie Wayne, Darren Woodson, and Marshall Yant. To me, in my opinion, when I looked at this, I think Antonio Gates, absolutely you got to get him in the Hall of Fame. Torrey Holt, you can't have the greatest show on turf without the one missing link. Steve Smith Sr., in my opinion, he was very pivotal to Carolina. And then not to mention he goes to another organization, very tough, very passionate in Baltimore. And then you got Reggie Wayne, who we've seen Marvin Harrison do what he did by himself. And we watched Reggie Wayne do everything by himself as well. So you really have to consider that. That's a pretty...
Eli should not be on the first ballot. He should not be.
I thought about that too, because this is the thing. He didn't dominate the league. He never dominated the league. He's always been known for his postseason success, which accounted for 2 Super Bowls. That is probably one of the biggest arguments right now that's going on as far as Hall of Fame resume. That's one of the biggest ones.
I mean, you could have all of the success in the world in the playoffs and win 2 Super Bowls. I get that. Like, the 2 Super Bowls and a Super Bowl MVP is, like, pivotal to a Hall of Fame career. I think it should be a second ballot Hall of Famer, because if you haven't done anything to blow you away in the regular season, if you haven't had an MVP, All-Pro, not very many Pro Bowls, I think he made like probably 3 or 4 and everything, like he didn't do anything to set himself away from everybody else like his brother did. So I think that he should be in the Hall of Fame, no doubt about it, but not a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think it's just really, really tough to really do it. So here's a funny one. Before I pass on the news from here. So this I thought was interesting because we're going into the draft and we kind of have an idea. I do want to see the last 2 locked in spots. I really want to see that before we do our 3 mock drafts. We did this last year. But this one was interesting. So there was every team, their last time they drafted a quarterback in the first round. And one team that had not drafted a quarterback in forever is the New Orleans Saints. 1971 was the last time they drafted. And you know who they drafted as their first-round quarterback? Archie Manning.
Wow.
Was the last time they ever drafted a first-round quarterback.
Well, it'll be Arch Manning next year, so.
It could be. But here's the thing. Does he go with the Saints? I thought that was interesting because a lot of these teams, this is how recent that it has been. Now, the Seahawks and the Cowboys are the only two closest ones that haven't drafted a first-round quarterback. So the Cowboys, 1989 was the last time they did, and the Seahawks, 1991. That's about the two closest ones outside of the Saints that last drafted a first-round quarterback. So,
do you want to know another trivia question? What are the only 3 teams in the NFL that have never had the number 1 overall pick?
Oh, God. I know the Baltimore Ravens have it.
That's one.
I think, oh, gosh. I really... Seattle?
That's 2.
And warmer. And I would say...
It's an AFC team, I'll give you that.
Yeah. Pittsburgh?
No, they drafted Bradshaw back in the 70s.
That's right. I can't even think of the third team. I know it's an AFC team, but it's slipping away.
The Denver Broncos.
Oh, my God.
Those are the only 3 teams in NFL history that have never had the number 1 overall pick.
Well, it's funny because Denver's track record of successes, they've always been a middle of the pack in the draft because they never truthfully have gotten that terrible to be a number 1 overall pick.
And they've gotten a lot of their quarterbacks in trades. John Elway was due to a trade. Peyton Manning was due to a trade.
Well, here's the thing, though, but Denver, their only project at quarterback was John Elway. That's their last time. Now they've turned the page once Bo Nix got drafted. So, again, there are organizations that you should not be afraid to get a first-round quarterback, even if they work in this area. Because I'll guarantee you this. Could the Dallas Cowboys do it? Because I thought the Seattle Seahawks would have done it last year. I thought they would have done it. Because to me, when they hired Ryan Grubb as the offensive coordinator, I felt like that was the perfect fit for Michael Penix. Because they both had their connection in Washington. But that didn't fall through. So does this year or was it next year that maybe Seattle may go draft a first-round quarterback? I'm really surprised that the Saints never considered quarterback since Archie Manning. That's insane. That's insane. But then again, what talented quarterback could have possibly came into this organization? At least at the time. Because remember, this was a snooze fest of an organization back then. They were not good. I don't think any of them...
You want to know what's crazy? The New Orleans Saints were 2 picks ahead of the Philadelphia Eagles when the Eagles chose Jalen Hurts. So Jalen could have been picked by the Saints if they would have pulled the trigger on a quarterback.
Yeah, in the second round.
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting, too, because I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get a chance about Jalen Hurts to really kind of set the tone here. But I'll pass it on to you with news because I like I said, I think we got so many of them because JT Miller to the New York Rangers, what a big commodity that is. But I was going to say, Vancouver, I don't know what they do from here because they're going to lose Pedersen, who's a hot commodity. They're probably going to lose Besser. The Devils right now have been knocking on their door as of recently, but we'll wait until we see from the trade deadline. I think that's what they're going to go for. Once the trade deadline hits, that's where they're going to start making their moves. I see them having a fire sale. I see Pittsburgh officially having a fire sale. This is going to be a lot, and I am really excited for us to cover that trade deadline There's some very good moves because, listen, I can't with the NBA. I really, really can't. And this is actually going to surprise a lot of people with what I got in store for you, for the organism of a league that is going to trump the NBA. And it is not even close. Not even close.
That's interesting. But to start off with some news that I've got is it's going to be some MLB news, and it's been trying to happen for the past 2 weeks. That Tariq Skubal has been getting a lot of trade talks, and one team in particular that's been looking at trying to trade for him is the Philadelphia Phillies, because with a lot of the pitchers that they got on their staff and how good that they've been, imagine adding a Cy Young winner and a guy that could be an anchor to a rotation and be your ace that you really truly need.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I mean, to me, because here's the thing, the Dodgers initially before they went and acquired Jack Flaherty, the first guy they inquired about was Tariq Skubal. That's the first guy they mentioned about. And I thought it was incredible. So, but they didn't make a move because they would have thrown in draft capital for Tariq Skubal, which is because they know that the Detroit Tigers, they haven't even, they made the postseason, won a postseason series. They took down the Astros, but they were so known for drafting and developing. I had a guy on here who covered very closely with the Detroit Tigers. This is what the ownership does every time, is they focus on the farm system rather than go and just get a key free agent. And the only one who's been a disappointment is Javi Baez. But yeah, but I'll tell you what though, Phillies, because they know the Dodgers have a very good rotation. They know the Mets in some way have a pretty good rotation. The
Orioles are starting to get one too.
Orioles have one. And by the way, sneakily, the Arizona Diamondbacks, since they got Corbin Burns on a deal, they could very much have a very good rotation. Carson Kelly and a couple others. So they don't want to feel like, okay, we got Aaron Nola and we've got Zach Wheeler and Ranger Suarez. They want to complete that thing. So I don't mind them getting aggressive, but how aggressive is Dave Dombrowski to even make that move?
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see whether or not they can. But I do know one thing for sure, that one of the new rookie guys, Charlie Condon, has been gaining a lot of hype this off season. And it's going to be interesting to see how spring training works out, because there could be a possibility that he could rise up in the ranks as quick as Paul Skeens did and be with the major league team by either June or July for them.
I don't doubt that, because here's the thing. Charlie Blackmon already retired now, and the only ones that you're really relying on is Ryan McMahon. There's who was it? Oh my gosh, it's Nolan. They got that young left fielder that's up out there. He's very, very good. But Charlie Condon, you watch the film in Georgia, and the kid is a 30-plus homer animal. The last time they had it was when they had Nolan Arenado. It took some time.
And Troy Tulowitzki.
Yeah, well, Troy Tulowitzki, as a shortstop, the guy was. They were. This is the funny thing is, I could see Charlie Condon when he comes up in here. Mark my words, I could see him have a season almost similar, maybe even better to Pete Alonso.
Ooh,
50 homer. Because here's the thing, Coors Field,
that's interesting.
What is Coors Field known for? Because you got to think altitude and the air. It's a hitter's friendly ballpark. So that's why
true.
I'm not, and especially with the swing he possesses, I would not be surprised if he hits 50 homers in that season. That is a kid that I think he'll hit 50 homers in one season, and I feel like he may actually come away with close to 130 RBI.
Yeah.
That kid could be a monster.
And they've been building the pitching staff in the draft too. The Colorado Rockies drafted 7 pitchers in the past 2 drafts that they had that, they are looking to fill that starting rotation here in the next couple years. So I look for Charlie Condon. If he can, develop really well and have some success in the minors, I look for him to come up this year. It's the same thing with Travis Banzana for Cleveland. Right now, Cleveland has 4 players on the top 100 MLB prospects, and Travis Banzana is number 12 on the MLB's top 100 list. And the fact that he could, with a strong push in the minors, he could jump all the way up to the top 5, maybe even the top MLB prospect with how good he is. Because coming into the draft, he was a consistent 306 hitter. He ended up hitting 25 to 30 home runs a season and everything. And he'll be playing second base for us. So that's going to be a bat that we need in there. And then another guy is Chase DeLauder, the outfielder that we got 2 drafts ago. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes.
That's the one I was thinking of, Nolan Jones. That's who it was. That kid is actually, I've seen them in person, and they've got some guys. But the question mark is Chris Bryant honestly going to be healthy for once? He has been on the IL for quite a while, and Rockies fans are pissed. They're paying him all this money, and he has not been available as of late.
Since that World Series team, he's gone down.
World Series team, he traded to San Francisco. It is in downhill for Chris Bryant.
It definitely has. Now, another thing that I want to point some fun at is that there are a lot of risers and stuff from the Senior Bowl practice that we've been talking about, and one guy in particular is Jackson Dart. With how good of a performance he had at the Shrine Bowl, and if he performs well at the Senior Bowl,
how accurate! Did you watch that throw?
Yes, I did.
How accurate was that throw?
When he was falling onto his knees, that was crazy. But the thing that I'm hearing is he could go to the Rams in the first round of the NFL draft, and they could pick him up with that 20th or 21st pick because they think that he's got the high potential, and working with Sean McVay and Matt Stafford.
And I like that, and I have heard that a couple times on some of the news pages. They do feel like he could be the perfect replacement after Matt Stafford is done, because he even said and came out that he plans to return this next season. And I know he's got one more year in the tank, but at least if you get a Jackson Dart, and like I said, this is why we even talked about this with Kyle McCord, because his draft stock started to go up. The Jets should look into him. Because the Raiders, in my opinion, if they go get a high talented wide receiver in the draft, or maybe even an offensive lineman or a running back, then they could go and get someone like McCord in the second round, depending on that. So there are options, but these are the teams that should focus in on something like this. I was not surprised the Rams were thinking about this, because look at how good Les Snead really is. That's another smart organization. Stan Kroenke and Les Snead.
A guy that's hit on a lot of late-round picks.
That's what I'm saying. Jared Verse, Braden Fisk. That's why I told people when
Puka Nacua,
when
Cooper Kupp,
when people thought that the Rams were going to regress because Aaron Donald, he retired. I told people they are going to pick up those 2 that they drafted. How good have they been? And I said to people, they are not going to be one player. They are 2 players for the price of 1. That is what you're going to get. And give this puppy some time. They are going to be really, really good. Oh, by the way, think about how sneaky that was when they got Kevin Dotson, the offensive lineman. How good has he been with the Rams? And this is a guy that the Steelers gave up on. So that's why I'm like, Sean McVay is so smart for this. This is why I don't see him stopping coaching. Why? This is working. If you trust and believe in the product you have, why stop it now? That's why I'm like, if Jackson Dart, he comes into Los Angeles, whoop, oh boy. And even when you got Puka, and not to mention, look at that kid, Jordan Winnington, his second year out of Texas. That kid's going to be something else, because rumors have stated that Cooper Kupp may not return to the Rams this offseason. Yeah. So that's a part where
he's a free agent? I think he's got one more year.
Yeah, he's got one more year, but I feel like they may put in a trade package.
They may.
They may. And you know what? They could use that trade package for another receiver and maybe another, corner or something.
Imagine Tez Johnson, a speedster on the Rams.
How? And his stock's been on fire too. Speedster, really good separation. I watched this film.
I could see a trade package where you got the New England Patriots go put in an offer for Cooper Kupp. They give him a second round, give the Rams a second round pick. The Patriots pick the third or fourth pick in the second round. Get a guy like Tez Johnson. Maybe go pick up another, or maybe go pick up a corner. There's a guy the East Coastal Carolina, like Chevion Revelle. Dude, he's been lighting it up a lot too.
Or think about this: Cooper Kupp doesn't want to leave Los Angeles. Maybe you make a call to your next door neighbor with the Chargers. Maybe you could put in a trade like that. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean Cooper Kupp, Ladd McConkey, Colston Loveland, like Justin Herbert. Ooh, now you guys would just need a running back. Go get Ollie Gordon.
And this is the thing. You're familiar with SoFi Stadium as it is. So it's like that's a possibility. But again, the Rams.
Go get a running back like Ollie Gordon in the third or fourth round, and you got yourself an offense.
Well, I'll tell you what. It's funny because, a side note, the Pittsburgh Steelers I'm hearing right now, they have actually been close with Ollie Gordon. And I'm not surprised by that either, because it's going to determine, and I've also heard reports about this too. A good friend of mine covers the Raiders. He said if there's a running back that they should truthfully get, and even if they go and get a running back in the draft, they feel like Najee Harris, they can go and get him. And I like this because you get a running back, you'll get another running back in the draft, and you've got Amir Abdullah, your situational back right there. That's a good running back by committee for the Raiders. That's not bad. And you get a better offensive line. There's
also rumors that they might go after Genty if the quarterbacks don't fall to where they want.
Good. Very much good. That's what I'm saying. This offseason, when we're on this show, it is going to be so hard to keep up with this because it's going to be trade galore. It's going to be free agency markets for however much money. God, I cannot wait for the offseason.
I can't either. I cannot wait for us to do our mock drafts. I can't wait for the combine to hit, and I cannot wait for free agency in mid-March to hit, because free agency is going to determine what a lot of these teams do in the draft. A lot of them. Because if you got, let's say a team like the Patriots who need offensive line help, if they go out and get a Ronnie Stanley for left tackle, they go out and get a Zach Martin for guard. Well, now with the fourth pick in the draft, you don't have to worry about getting like a Calvin Banks out of Texas. You can go out and get Travis Hunter if he falls to you. You can go out and get Tedderone McMillan. You can go out and get Abdul Carter.
So here's what's funny, and it's funny because you mentioned this yesterday. So Mason Taylor, they've already posted up on him, and his stock is rising. And look, I watched the documentary, like the biopic and everything else. Does he not remind you of Aaron Hernandez, the player? Does his build and he's so stocky and he's very physical. That's why and the other thing is, he's also got a very good route tree, which is
he reminds me of a shorter Travis Kelce.
I think so too. Well, but here's the thing. Travis Kelce, I think what's different from this is because I think Mason Taylor possesses the physical gifts. Because Travis Kelce, even though he can be somewhat physical, but I don't think he possesses that enough, because we watch him play as a receiver. And he knows how to create a very, very well-established route tree. It's very good. But that's why I think, to me, I feel like my comp on him, I know people don't mention this, but I feel like as a player, he reminds me a bit of Aaron Hernandez. Physical, tough, blocking schemes, and then not to mention very good hands, especially when you're out there and I could see him too as a red zone threat. Teams are going to really pay attention to that, because if I've got a fourth and goal, or if I got a second or in the goal line situation and I'm about 5 or 7 yards apart, How can you not have a reliable tight end like that with the length that he has and the hands? Just go chuck that thing up there, and Mason Taylor will be right there.
Don't be shocked if Harold Fannin goes in the first round either.
I've heard really good things about Harold Fannin too.
I have too. There's been he has wanted to show people he can block too, because that's what a lot of people look at is not only your receiving ability, but can you also block as well? And he's been showing a lot of that at the Senior Bowl. But man, his routes are crisp. His catching is on point. He's catching with his hands, not his chest. I'm telling you, he's looking better than Tyler Warren, looking better than Colston Loveland. I think he could be tight end 1 in the draft.
Could be. But again, who's the team that would take him? Denver? Chargers? The Jets, maybe? Because
Chargers might. I mean, Kansas City might. Because they might they might want a replacement for Travis.
Well, here's the thing. They do have Noah Gray, and they also got that tight end Jared Wiley from TCU. So they do have a mixture of – I know Jared Wiley's more of an offensive tight end. He's more offensive. But I think with Noah Gray – they could. They could if they wanted.
Because look at what he can do. He can block, run block and pass block. He can go out and catch the ball. He's 6'3". He's 215 pounds. Travis is 220 or 225 and 6'4", or 6'5". But not only that, he can jump too, and he can he has a very diverse route tree. I think that Patrick Mahomes relies heavily on the tight ends. Noah Gray and Justin Watson are a little bit older. Getting a young guy who's 20 years old that you could have for the rest of Mahomes' career, that would be insane.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I think if it came to talented tight ends, I could see the Jets be a possible option, the Broncos and the Chargers, because here's the thing. Those are some teams, because whatever happens with the Garrett Wilson trade for the Jets, that's what I'm paying attention to, because arguably you got to go and get a receiver. If they trade away Garrett Wilson, then tight end is off the board for me. You got to go and get a receiver. Luther Burden is maybe available at that pick, or maybe even you get or maybe you could trade down a few spots. And here's the thing. There are still many receivers that are out there. Matthew Golden, I've heard a lot of very good things about. Nick Nash, the receiver from San Jose State. So
Isaiah
Bond, one of those. But if they don't trade him, this is the other thing. If they do not trade him, then I could see them getting somebody like that.
Yeah.
Because that will now make the offense pretty good. And it's a very talented roster as it is. But the question is obviously quarterback. We all know that. All right.
I see the Jets going after Milroe, so.
We shall see. Case with the news.
This is the Hot Press.
I had a theory, and you're going to love this. Get ready for this. I don't usually always become public enemy number one because I have a likable face and I smile. And at the same time, it's very hard to hold a grudge against me. It's really hard. Because I just have a likable personality. But Chase, you better hold me accountable. But I feel like I'm going to be public enemy number one in the city of Pittsburgh, and here's why. So right now, the rumor buzzes in the NFL draft. I know you've seen it too. But they're projecting, and this has been heating up in the last couple of days, but they are projecting that the number one overall pick may not be Travis Hunter. It could be Abdul Carter, the edge rusher from Penn State. And here's a theory I have. What do the Tennessee Titans truthfully need? Because I also looked at a few I looked at a post, and this was obviously, we all remember the trade that sent A.J. Brown to the Eagles, and then they went and drafted Treylon Burks. Guess what? A.J. Brown clearly was successful. Did you know how many receiving touchdowns Treylon Burks had since the trade? One. That is insane.
That's horrendous.
I think because Tennessee needs to focus on offense more than anything. But I have a theory. I know that Tennessee has such a good defense. There's no question. Jeffrey Simmons, Harold Landry, several others. They have a very good defense. But
They need corners, so they might go after Travis, but who knows?
They could. And I wouldn't even be mad at that. But I think, to me, it'd either be corner or it would be wide receiver. It could be either one of those. And I could see them trying to move back a few spots and get more draft capital. But here's why this may make me public enemy number one in Pittsburgh. Because you've heard the talks that there's a potential contract extension for TJ Watt. Who is the number one most paid team on one side of the ball, more particularly on defense? The Pittsburgh Steelers. They pay all of their salary on defense.
Yep.
In an offensive league. So here's my theory. I'm looking at the buzz of Abdul Carter. What I think the Pittsburgh Steelers should truthfully do, because they need offensive line, I think they may, if they lose Najee Harris, they are already looking into Ollie Gordon, who's not a bad option, but you could probably get him in the second round, maybe even the third, depending on it. I think you should honestly trade away TJ Watt, because knowing his contract is going to be expensive. This is the second contract year. He's going to be expensive. And I would maybe try to fight to get the number one overall pick and go get Abdul Carter. Here's why.
That I would hate.
This is my theory. Because you are not spending the money more on defense again. If you are, good luck with getting a playoff win. Good luck. Because to me personally, I don't like it. I don't. The more they keep spending on defense, bye-bye with trying to get your first playoff win in a long time. So you could go ahead and harp that you've got a winning record in the regular season. Good for you. You need to change your standards. So to me, I know TJ Watt is going to be expensive. So to me, I feel like Abdul Carter, here's where I think it works, is because you've got Herbig, that one other edge rusher. I like him. You've already drafted Peyton Wilson from last year. He'll have a very good second season. And you've also got Alex Highsmith that you're paying. And you've already got Minka Fitzpatrick, and you've got Cam Hayward. You've got that top front. Who says no to that? Because here's the reason. I think this has been a buzz. I don't believe it's happening. I do not believe Russell Wilson is going to reunite with Pete Carroll. And the reason of this is because I know they've had past successes and all the rest of it, but they moved off Russell Wilson. And they still made it to the playoffs with Geno Smith. So I don't see that happening. I see Pittsburgh retaining Russell Wilson for maybe a 3-year deal. And maybe you go, because the other thing is Jalen Milroe. That's another quarterback that they've been talking about. If you lose Justin Fields, and you go and get Jalen Milroe because you want the legs. But here's the thing. I get draft capital, and at the same time, I've got money to spend. Where I need an O-line, I need a running back, I need all that. Defense, I'm fine with defense. Pittsburgh's defense always plays physical. Why am I going to pay more of my money and yet be locked in and then be so mediocre on offense? I told you this before, Jace. You cannot walk into this division with Joe Burrow, Lamar, and Cleveland's defense twice a year mediocre on offense. You cannot do it. It's an offensive-centric league. You have got to change up your standard. I know this is why Pittsburgh's going to make me public enemy number one just for saying that. But
they love TJ Watt. They hide behind the man.
I get it.
It's insane.
I truthfully get it. But who could honestly say no to this? You're moving on a highly talented edge rusher, and you're not losing anything if you get Abdul Carter. He's already.
Don't even go after Abdul Carter. Go after Shador or Cam. If you get the number one overall pick because you traded TJ Watt,
But here's
and
the problem.
maybe a pick or two to the Titans for the number 1 overall pick. The quarterback is their desperate need for that team. I would go get Shador because I'm sure his dad would let him play for Pittsburgh.
But here's the problem. When has Pittsburgh in the last few years since Big Ben ever developed quarterback? They have failed in all of those. Mason Rudolph, Duck Hodges, Kenny Pickett. They don't have, this is the thing. The Rooney family wants success right away. They're a proud organization just like Dallas.
Then fire Tomlin.
We thought of that too. And what's funny is that Jerome Bettis was on a podcast and they were talking about, should we truthfully, I actually, it was on a show. I don't know if it was Dan Patrick or it was Rich Eisen, but they asked him, should they truthfully be critical of Mike Tomlin?
Yes.
And he even was bluntly honest about it. Like, you gotta put him on the radar, but because the successes as far as his winning record goes, it's so hard to do that. But that's because of Pittsburgh standards, how it's shaped. But like I said, as much as all of us, we would want that, does Pittsburgh want that? And we know Pittsburgh's culture. This is why I say Dallas, we know, is falling off a cliff. Proud organization, very insular. They do not want to change their standard. San Francisco's different because we have seen them in their dynasty with Joe Montana and Jerry Rice and all of them. They were a proud organization as well. And then even they hit the depths very fast. Once all those guys were gone, they hit the ground. And yet, once Kyle Shanahan and everybody else, it lifted it up. But who knows what they'll look like this offseason. But I'm telling you, I just think with the Rooney, and I've seen this happen, I don't think the Rooney have any time to develop a rookie quarterback. I really don't think that that's on their mind. I think what they're thinking of, we have a veteran quarterback who's been in this league, who has experience, who has familiarity in this league, and we watched him with how he played this season. I know it was horrible that they lost 4 or 5 games, but I'd be taking at least the edge rusher to pair up with the 4, get a wide receiver and a running back, because here's the thing. You didn't even use Roman Wilson once this season. Not one time. You drafted him in the middle rounds. What was he supposed to do? So that's why, how could you not say no to this? I'm just saying, Pittsburgh, think about it. Let this sit and cook. Because, again, I know y'all love TJ Watt. I know you do. But I'm thinking about this from a business standpoint. You could go ahead and call me an idiot and a casual and whatever. I don't care. I'm just saying, sleep on it. Think about it. Because do you want to just be the organization, proud, insular, like a Dallas Cowboys that's never going to change your standard and say, well, we had the best winning record. We still have a winning record. We've never lost in the regular season. Okay, good for you. Good luck being a first-round exit every year.
That's like having an employee who just got a pay bump for doing, a little bit above the normal work, and then he stays at that normal work for the rest of his time there. If he would perform all of his duties on time, he could get a massive pay bump. But no, he just wants to be normal because he doesn't want to do the work.
Well, and they never want to change their standard, and that's the thing. You can even look at bosses who have, again, they've had a track record of successes. I do not disrespect their stripes, how they've earned it, how they've moved up the ladder. I don't. But sometimes you got to be open. Like, this is the thing. If you're an organization that's constantly evolving and changing because technology is getting smarter every day, this is what the NFL is. They are pro offense. This is what they've leaned into. And I know Mike Tomlin is more. I've compared Mike Tomlin to my personal trainer. That's what he reminds me of. Motivator, culture setter, but is not clever on offense. That's my problem with Mike Tomlin. That's why I say, I know you all love TJ Watt. You all love defense. You're the AFC Chicago Bears. Okay? and that's what you've turned into. You've turned into the AFC version of the Chicago Bears, who you have an offense, but it's not that great. It is what it is. But you have a great defense. They're physical. That's all they harp on. I'm telling you, get with the program. I've watched the Chargers defense go from bottom 5 to number 1 scoring defense in the league. And they've got Justin Herbert. They could throw the ball. They could move the offense. I mean, even when we watch the Kansas City Chiefs, they're not insular. They've got a very good defense because they trust Spags. But when you've got Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and you've got an offensive line and you're still moving the ball and you're still capable of scoring 25-plus points, come on, Pittsburgh. I've respected y'all for years. But I'm just saying, take a minute, sleep on it, and then come back to me with an answer in the morning. You know, that's the one thing about a business pitch, right? If I came up to you and I'm looking at personally what the market is looking like, and I give you something and you had to kind of, because again, we're very critical thinkers. We kind of have to take a step back, think about it. And you know what? I'm always like, you know what? Sleep on it. Here's my card. Here's what we talked about. Sleep on it. I'll get a call from you in the morning. That's the part that I'm like, that's what I feel with Pittsburgh. Just sleep on it, Steeler fans. Don't look at me as like I'm picking on y'all, or I'm looked at as like I don't know football. I don't know exactly all of that. Come on, man. I've heard it all. I've heard everything of it. It doesn't faze me. I'm just saying, think about it. I'm not telling you to get rid of all your big-time picks. I'm just saying if you're going to do this right, be smart about it.
Yep.
I was going to say no to that. I'm telling you.
And
this is the other thing. You are in a position to where Abdul Carter will be on a rookie contract. You got plenty of time with this. You could figure out the money deal. And think about it. They're in the top 15 of cap space. Top 15. I could use that money on offense. I really could. I don't want to spend all my money on defense. I've already tried that. Yeah, you made the playoffs, but you were first-round exits. I tried that already. I want to be able to win a playoff game and get over the hump that I have been waiting for the last few years. That's it. You've heard it from me. I'm America's honesty mind. I'll be honest and blunt with you.
I like it.
But yeah, I like it too. But
I don't like it because it's Pittsburgh, but I like the idea.
That's the thing. Does the city of Pittsburgh like that? I'm guessing no.
I would be fine if they just sucked for the next 5 years.
Of course you would. But I'm just saying. I think just take a minute to sleep on it. I'm telling you, they got my head posted on all the posts up there in Pittsburgh. Okay, go ahead. Not going to shake. Not going to stop me and shake me. But all right. Yeah, I got to do some film with the Shrine Bowl. But I have a lot of very good friends that were out there. They gave me every angle, gave me everything that I needed to know. But just got to obviously do my homework, because this is going to be the kind of thing that every team in the NFL is going to be breaking down. What's their needs? What's their wants? Does this fit? Because that's the curiosity. So we should, I really am liking a lot of these guys, a lot of these names that are pointing out interesting stuff. But we got to be prepared for it. This is a good week. We got trades. Yeah, coaching hires, except for one. Nobody wants that job. That's the only person that New Orleans is going to settle on is Kellen Moore. That's what I said. I think it was smart that Mike McCarthy didn't go for this job. I think he looked at it and said, no, thanks. Sorry. But I'm going to look for next year's coaching hires when they're open. Miami job's pretty attractive. The Giants don't figure it out this next year. That could be open, but I feel like they could turn things around. But I think they should honestly fire that GM before you fire Brian Dable, because honestly, he will be a hot commodity head coaching hire for somebody else next year. But there's a bunch of openings. But man, 7 coaches out of Detroit's staff, and 2 teams that took 3 of them.
Yeah.
And then listen, this was so Ben Johnson, though, because he goes and takes Antoine Randall and JT Barrett to Chicago. That's so Ben Johnson to ensure offense is going to work. That's insane, man. I don't know how Detroit is going to figure that out. I see them have a winning record, like maybe a 9-10 win team, but that is not easy.
I'm going to do a bold prediction, and I'm going to pick the Bears to win their division next year.
Really? Over Minnesota and Chicago and Green Bay? Wow.
Yeah, bold prediction, but I think that Ben Johnson's going to be the guy to come in and get Caleb Williams, going in the right direction. They're going to build up that offensive line this offseason. They're going to draft another running back because you know how Ben Johnson likes the run game and everything. And not to mention, he's going to get these receivers back on track and, have them playing at an elite level. And I do think that the Chicago defense is very underrated for what people give them credit for.
Very good.
I do think that the Lions are going to fall off, not drastically, but they're not going to win the division. I think that they're going to have like 10 wins and make it a wild card. And I think that Minnesota is going to fall off just a slight bit just because, Sam Darnold's a veteran. You got J.J. McCarthy, who's going to be the starter next year. He's technically a rookie that hasn't played in the NFL yet. So you're going to have some growing pains with that, but they're still going to have a winning record. The only thing that they got to get past the Bears do is Jordan Love and the Packers. That's it.
That's that. But here's where I'm with you. I don't think the Vikings will win 14 games again next season. I don't think they will. I think it's a slight step. I think they might be capable of winning 11. But here's my thing that I will piggyback off of. I like their O-line. Christian Darrisaw will be back healthy. I like with what they've done there. I like it. But to me, I think Minnesota may win this division next year. The only reason of it is because I know Harrison Smith and Stephon Gilmore, they're contemplating retirement.
Denver, Trev, I'm at work. That's why my camera's different.
Yeah. So I just think Minnesota, I like with what they've done. They have very much hit on their offensive pieces. They have. Offensive line, I could see them getting more depth pieces there. Because if I just saw that where they had Cam Robinson after you got Christian Darrisaw, they weren't folding. So that's why I'm like, I like the GM that they got there. So I see him really building upon that success.
He learned from Andrew Berry. He was his disciple.
So that's the thing. I don't believe they will win 14 games next year. I think they're capable of 11. But I do feel this division getting tougher. And the only reason of that is because Green Bay could be in play because they've got Josh Jacobs. They got all these youngsters will be going into their 3rd, potentially 4th year. So
Minnesota's only got 4 draft picks this year.
They do. But here's the thing. Even if they go and they maybe potentially make a move, they can get something back. But to me, this is why they move on from Sam Darnold. Rightfully so. Because here's the thing. They're not going to be in a bad spot because J.J. McCarthy, I've got an offensive line that looks trustworthy, that can protect him while he's coming back from injury, and I've got a backup in Daniel Jones. So I like their possibility here. I don't think they're going to truthfully I see them winning the division next year. I really do. I'm not kidding. I think this division is going to be the utmost competitive. It's like it was this past year, but I don't think we'll get 3 teams in the playoffs in the NFC North. I don't think we will. I think we might have 2 because all 4 of these teams are competitive. Now, Detroit, if if they've got growing pains after losing their coordinators and a lot of other pivotal coaching staff members, Dan Campbell's going to have a hard time with that. But I have to see how they recover from it, because if that's the case, I mean, one already threw in the towel and said that their Super Bowl window is closed after this year. That's going to tell you they do not like this spot.
Yeah.
They don't like it. And so that's why I think, well, because to me, I think Chicago, what's hard about this is that I can't even see them win a division. It's hard for me to say because I got to watch 5 games. That's why I give the minimum 5. I have to see how Ben Johnson does situationally, because if I see something that may be too overwhelming for Ben Johnson, I could see them being capable of a 3rd place. I can, because it's a slow cook build. But I don't know. It's hard for me to say to win the division. That's very
I am making a bold prediction right here. Jake will be my witness. We will come back and a year from now, when the Bears win the division, he'll be like, you were right, Chase, all along. I was completely wrong about that.
I mean, look, I can be accountable for it. I could say, hey, I didn't expect it, but I'll give you your flowers, okay, if that is the case. Because you know what? You got your bold prediction. I got mine. I got the Patriots going in the playoffs and the Steelers missing out on it. You told me how crazy that sounded. I mean, but then when I hear about this thing with the Bears, I think we both, each of us got one. That's what I'm saying. Who deserves more of their flowers? My prediction with the Patriots in the playoffs over the Steelers, and yet still have the Broncos Chargers in the wild cards, or Chase's bold prediction of the Bears winning the division and mine with the Minnesota Vikings? You take your pick, America. You take your pick. I'm listening to the fans, because again, they're the ones that I know that are either going to think you're crazy or I'm crazy. But you know what? That's fine. Yeah, like I said, I just that's going to be such a fun division if it hasn't already this past season, and we know that with three teams going into the playoffs this past season. Yeah, I think it could be 2. It's just competitive, and I watch the other NFC teams. What's to say Washington doesn't get back in the playoffs? What's to say that Atlanta, Atlanta, Tampa, Carolina, there's some teams out there.
I got Carolina winning their division next year. I've got the Commanders winning their division next year.
What?
Well, think about it. The Commanders
over the Eagles.
The Commanders are going to get better. They're going to get better on offense and defense. Kellen Moore, their offensive coordinator, will be gone. The last time they lost their coordinator, Shane Steichen, and then they got a new one in there, they had a down year because Brian Johnson was not that good. It depends on who they get as their OC to fill in for Kellen. Because I'm telling you this right now, if they don't cater to the run game with Saquon Barkley and use him as a pivotal piece and try to throw more like what Brian Johnson did and use Jalen Hurts' arm, the Commanders are going to win the division.
Wow. All right. I mean, look, I like the Commanders. Okay, I do. But that talented roster from both offense and defense of Philadelphia is too talented for me to not think this team might actually win the division again.
I got the Chargers winning their division. I've got the Chargers winning theirs. I got the Colts winning theirs. I've got the Bills winning theirs. I've got the Ravens winning ours. Then I've got the Cardinals winning the West, the Commanders winning the East, the Bears winning the North, and the Panthers winning the South.
Okay. You had me at Bills and Ravens, but Chargers winning the West? Look, I'm a little appalled because here's the thing. Do you honestly believe that they could take down the Chiefs?
Yes, and here's why. Travis Kelce is more than likely going to retire this year coming off of the Super Bowl win. Andy Reid's decision on whether or not he's going to come back is still up in the air. We don't know if he's going to come back or not. And then a lot of the offensive pieces that the Chiefs are going to get this offseason and everything, like whether they get a new running back, whether they get another wide receiver, whether they pick up another tight end. It's going to take a second for the chemistry to build with him and Mahomes and everything. And with how good of a coach Harbaugh is, and you get more talent on that offense for the Chargers, I think the Chargers can overthrow the Chiefs easily in that division.
Okay. I mean, look, I would be more moved about Andy Reid retiring before Travis Kelce. The only reason of it is because, in my opinion, it's a player.
Jason has already come out and said that he expects Travis to retire.
Here's the thing: if it's a coach, that's different. Because remember, that's the kind of thing that if you hit on a coach, it changes everything. But if he retires, I have never seen Patrick Mahomes without Andy Reid.
I have never seen Patrick Mahomes without Travis Kelce.
Yeah, but there was Noah Gray. They didn't even miss a step. Okay,
but there's been a lot of these games where Travis has made, like, even if he's like not really involved a lot, he's involved by blocking. He's involved by doing a lot of the other stuff. He's involved by having corners and linebackers like guard him and everything, because he's that guy and everything like that. So I am sitting here thinking that a guy like Travis Kelce will make a big. It's like Rob Gronkowski for the Patriots. You get rid of him, it's not going to be the same Brady that we've seen.
But who is the architect that designed the play scheme for Travis Kelce? Andy Reid. That's what I'm saying. Andy Reid is capable of making packages for any and everybody. I've watched this in Philadelphia, and I'm watched this and still currently watching this in Kansas City, because Travis Kelce retires. They're going to figure that out. And Noah Gray, he stepped up. Like, he stepped up in a way. He may not be a Kelce, but he's serviceable enough to where he's another Patrick Mahomes weapon. And Mahomes uses everybody. Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown. That's why I'm more into Reid retiring than Kelce. Because, again, it's one thing to lose a worker and they're replaceable. You could go get another one, even if they may not be the same. But if you're the architect and 9 out of 10 times you're very successful with your plans, that's more pivotal than just a worker. Because if you're building up the building and it looks great, it don't matter what workers you got. As long as they all fall on the same page that you have, that's more pivotal.
I've seen Jim Harbaugh enough in the pros with San Francisco, and then his time with Michigan for me to sit here and say I think that he has the power to overthrow the Chiefs next year.
I'm not doubting Harbaugh. Like, that's the thing. I'm not doubting him. I know what he's capable of, and believe me, I'm hoping for that too. But it's not that easy when you've got a very long track record of successes like Kansas City has, and even when you got a smart architect in there, that's a challenge. And mind you, they got swept by the Chiefs this past season. And the Chiefs in the last 10 meets, they're 8-2. That's why I'm like, it's so hard to. But again,
you get a Colston Loveland in there, you get a Luther Burden, you get a Emeka Ibuka, you get an Isaiah Bond, you get a Tez Johnson.
Those guys, yeah.
You get any of those guys in there with the Chargers and everything. Give Justin Herbert another weapon, because Quentin Johnston's like up and down. Ladd McConkey's fantastic. And then I'd say go get a running back in like the 3rd round or something, somebody that's going to be like your world beater and everything, because JK, yeah, he's great and everything, but he's nowhere near like a level of Kyron Williams, like a Derrick Henry, but he's good. He's very serviceable. I would rather trust him than Gus Edwards, in my opinion. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You could go draft a running back. But yeah, I am intrigued. I am. That's why I'm like, we do this on the show. There's always intriguing thoughts, but I just look at it. I'm like, I would like to think that, but I've seen this story multiple times. That's the hard part. That's the thing. But anyway, what a great show this week. Next week, we got it even better. I will have a coach up on here on the show, and I would love to see his thoughts on this because he's also got a book that we want to promote him and showcase. If you are a coach in any level, from high school all the way to the pros, you're going to want this book. And it's more pertaining to not only for coaches, but even for families out there. If you got a kid that's ready to commit to a college football program, got to know the details, ins and outs, what's happening up on here, go get this book. And I will have the author and the coach to explain it more here up on the show next week. You don't want to end up missing out up on that. I'm excited for that interview. But all week long, we've been fantastic. Super Bowl week next week. We got to get prepared up for it, Jason and I. But appreciate all of you guys for rocking with us this week and always every week here up on the show, on the Snake Sports Talk Show. We'll see you guys next week, and we will definitely have some fiery interviews for you coming up.
Watch the Senior Bowl.
Oh, yeah. Enjoy the Senior Bowl, guys. We'll be doing our homework as well. Take care, everyone.